Hello and welcome to High Roller's Dead Reckoning. This is a brand new mini-series that we're doing here on the Wizards Twitch channel and also for over on their YouTube channel and their VODs as well. I am your Dungeon Master Mark Sherlock Humes from High Rollers, our little regular stream. And joining me, I have Chris Trott, Katie Morrison, Tom Hazel with two L's.
Two L's.
And Kim Richards
Yo.
of Kim Richards fame. Welcome, friends, to this brand new exclusive stream here on Wizards D&D. Very much, if you hadn't seen it before, we've done something similar to this before called Uncharted Territory, which was a whistle-stop tour through the Tomb of Annihilation module, which you can go and purchase now and play and enjoy.
No.
Yes, you can, Chris Trott. And we finished that, and that was kind of a whistle-stop tour. We did it over about 10 episodes. That's all available on the Wizards website, on the Wizards YouTube and Twitch. You can go and watch that now. This one is a little bit different. This is something like a prologue, almost. It's kind of my version of what might have led up to the events of Tomb of Annihilation and how certain parties got their information. And it's going to be another little quick mini-series. I'm joined by, once again, our wonderful friends. And if you'd like to see some more Dungeons & Dragons content with us, you can check out our regular stream, which is over on twitch.tv/yogscast.
Where?
Twitch.tv/yogscast.
One more time.
Twitch.tv/yogscast. On every Sunday at 5 PM BST, which is 9 AM PDT if you are out in the States, and on the East Coast?
Pacific.
Yeah, East Coast. Yeah. Then that's the time for you. If you're on the other coast, no, West Coast.
You're the Atlantic.
West Coast. West Coast. Yeah. It's on the West Coast. If you're on the other, if you're on the East Coast, or if you're in the middle bit of America, use a time converter and work.
Or anywhere else in the world.
Anywhere else in the world,
Mark,
figure it out.
What if I can't tune into those streams and I just want to watch all the rest of High Rollers?
Well, the rest of the High Rollers, but out of our regular game,
Yeah.
you mean Chris Trott, you can watch that on the YouTube channel Yogs Live, where there is a whole playlist of our regular campaign. It's been going for nearly 2 years now. There's 58, 59 episodes. Yeah, coming up.
So old!
So you can check that out.
That sounds amazing. What was that channel again?
Yogs Live on YouTube.
If you do want to keep up with us in general, just follow us on Twitter at HighRollersD&D and you will find all the information.
I feel like that YouTuber that asks for a like and subscribe before they get
I know, right?
into the content.
Please like us.
So leave a like, guys! Thank you.
Smash that like button.
Is it like button now? Is it the ding the bell now?
Ding the bell.
No, it's like button now.
You can like and
Just
like.
smash all the buttons!
If you see a button, smash it.
Smash
especially
it.
the close button in the top corner.
So enough of that. Now that that's done with, let's crack on. First things first, I'll give you guys and you at home a brief overview of this campaign and set up a little bit of the story beforehand.
Let me just open my notebook.
Our players are less than heroic personalities this time around. In fact, you could go as far as to say most of you, in fact all of you, are somewhat infamous. Rather than being famous adventurers, you are infamous mercenaries, murderers, criminals, or otherwise generally bad people. This is set in the Forgotten Realms, so this takes place in the world of Toril, and currently most of you your activities have been confined to the Sword Coast or nearabouts. You haven't broadened far out into the Forgotten Realms. Most of you come from the Sword Coast or work in that particular area, or underneath it in certain characters' cases. The last few days, each of you have had the same recurring nightmare. You dream of being pulled down into graves, sucked into endless voids, dreams of your flesh falling from your bodies, your skeleton being revealed, your face falling off, frequently also combined with a sensation of being eaten alive.
Charming.
And these nightmares happen every night, and every time you wake up, you cough up blood, or you feel nauseous as if your insides, whatever you eat, is rotting and eating away at your innards. It's generally a very unpleasant experience. You are combined with constant sensations of not quite being real, feeling quite distanced from your physical body. something strange is afoot. And you have all been doing your own investigations and trying to find ways to alleviate it. Now, some of you are spellcasters or have divine connections. No matter which clerics or wizards you go and speak to, none of them can alleviate these symptoms. You've tried potions, you've tried rituals, you've tried sacrifices, anything you can think of, nothing seems to work and nothing alleviates the nightmares and this strange sickness residing in you. What you have been able to discover is that you are not the only one suffering from these kind of problems. You begin to learn that other creatures and beings are also suffering from a similar thing. One group in particular seem to know, or at least seem to be investigating this strange occurrence. And they are known as the Harpers, a kind of spy network that exists across the Forgotten Realms. They're generally seen as helpers of the good and the innocent. Organisation symbol, the Harpers, there we go. It is...
Got everything on this character sheet.
As Will Wheaton once said, it looks a lot like the Guinness logo.
It really does.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
However, they are not a fine stout. In fact, they are a group of spies and agents generally known for helping the common people and being quite a good organisation. Not the type of people perhaps you as individuals will associate with, but they seem to be the only ones that are at least have some sort of clue of what might be happening, or at least are investigating what might be happening. As such, the four of you have made your way to the grand city of Neverwinter. Neverwinter, once rendered apart during the Sundering and the Spell Plague, is being rebuilt. The Lord Neverember has made great strides in bringing the city back to previous standards. Getting into the city generally isn't very hard. There are often back alleyways. You might bribe a guard here or there, making your way inside the city. And once inside, generally it's so busy and metropolis, and such a busy metropolis, you can easily blend in and avoid unwanted attentions. You have made contact with several agents of these Harper organisation who seem to almost seek you out. So what I'd like to know is what kind of things you might be up to in the city where a Harper agent might approach you. You should also, at this point, say what you're playing and give us a little bit of background information, which I always forgot, even though it was in my notes.
Who would like to go first?
Not me.
That sounds like a volunteer, Chris Trott.
All right, I will go first. So, I am Terran, Newguard. I actually have quite a posh voice. I don't know why I started with Ross Kemp. I am a very imposing figure. Huge, muscular, ripped, jacked, hench, beefy.
All those words.
All of those things. And I was once an elite Direhar, which means I was a guardian priest for what's called the Order of the Steel Fang, a very elite military unit that has a devotion to the god Tempus.
Tempus, Lord of Battle, known as the Foe Hammer.
Glory and battle. And as Terran really likes glory and battle, he is the most devoted to Tempus that can possibly be, to his fault, I'd say. He was in an elite squad. He had a comrade called Bast. He was the only person in that entire unit that he thought was somewhat close to what Tempus required of them. Everyone else were blasphemers to the point where they didn't fight well enough.
Okay.
They didn't truly devote themselves to Tempus like I did. And to the point where my death, which is quite a big point in this.
Well, it was up to you if you wanted to reveal that, but yes,
right.
Each of you has died and been brought back to life, which is how it ties into the Tomb of Annihilation.
So I died because of the failings of my elite unit. They were struck by my enemies, and I was not, and I went in and I was butchered to death because no one backed me up.
Right. And then you came back to life, but you don't really have any memory of why.
It's been a haze, it's been a blur. All I know is my devotion to Tempus must be upheld.
The other thing, which I'm going to now reveal to you, is it is when you were risen from the dead, you arose, your armor was in pieces, much of your armor had been shattered. There is a great scar, almost like a burned scar over your chest. And also, as you kind of went down to pick up your weapon, You did not find your normal two-handed sword there. That is when you found Grief, this magical greatsword carved with bones and skulls and generally looking really evil and bad.
Looks like some sort of sword that could be
Like
in
a
a
Morn
set
of
somewhere.
Frost or something like that.
A Morn
yeah.
of Frosting.
Yeah, it looks like Frostborn. And that is actually when you kind of reached down with your gauntleted hand, what remained of your gauntleted hand, you kind of grasped this two-handed blade, and that was when you found it. And ever since, you've obviously, learned to fight with it. You've learned about its powers and, something of its nature. It's quite sinister. Whenever you strike, whenever it draws blood, it wails with a kind of woman's scream.
It's like a reverberated, echoing.
Nazgul.
Yeah,
Nazgul.
like Nazgul
It's the
scream.
Nazgul scream.
And yeah, this was just next to your body. There was ash and fire scorch marks all around, but there was no evidence of what you might have been fighting or anything like that. And this sword was basically next to you.
Physically, obviously in episode 1 we don't have full
No,
character.
art will be coming very soon. We have our artist Nina Serena who's working on that. So hopefully in episode 2 we'll have some super cool art to show you.
So I'm like a mid-30s, I say, age guy. I've got short blonde hair, like military style hair.
Cropped, super cropped.
Yeah, blue eyes, piercing, kind of like dead. He's got scars on his face. He's very tall, like 6 foot something or other. That's tall for me.
This is Alex Smith height.
He's broad-shouldered, and he always wears full plate armor. Very pointy, big pauldrons, big flowing cape that's kind of tattered and bruised from him dying, and like little chinks in the armor as well.
Fantastic.
And yeah.
That's enough from you.
Yeah.
I've lost access to the PC.
Oh, good. We're in the minute. So if you haven't realised, by the way, this is a pre-recorded stream, so
Yes.
we won't be like reading out chat or donations or anything like that we normally do on some of our streams. And we are currently trying to operate a system where we don't have somebody in our control room. So Chris Trott is on.
Chris Trott is control room. And,
So he's got that next to him.
if there's any random cuts, it's because I'm running in and out of the room.
That's why. Katie Morrison, why don't you tell us who you are playing and a little bit about them?
I am playing a half-drow, and basically she has, when she was born, her mother was executed because she is a half-breed.
Obviously
she is a disgrace.
Slept
So,
some sort of surface dweller, no
Yes.
doubt.
So basically, her mother was executed as punishment, but they kept her to basically be a bit of a slave in the Underdark. They used her as a bit of a bridge between the surface world and the Underdark. The house that I've got the name of it. The house
I have the
that
house,
she
House Arcana.
House Arcaneth. Basically, they used her as a bit of a bridge between the surface world, so she would bring anyone that they wanted to discuss political things with, any treaties, anything like that, she would bring them in. So she's got some experience. Basically, she didn't have the daylight sensitivity, being half-drow, so they sent her up, and she was under their control. She was beaten, she was abused, pretty nasty, had a horrible life, and one day, basically in a fit of rage, the head of the house, after a particularly bad treaty attempt, he killed her in a fury, and she woke up in the servants' quarters. An unknown woman resurrected her. She doesn't know who she is. She still doesn't know who she is. All she knows is that it was a fellow servant who wasn't drow, and she said she was old, she had no hope of escape, but she saw strength in this half-drow and gave her the ability to leave, saying that the only price that she required in return for resurrecting her was that she killed Lord Arcana before she left. So she did that. She slit his throat in his sleep and she fled the Underdark. She stumbled upon a monastery then, watched them for a few days, saw that they were studying death and some strange
it was an unusual
things.
monastery.
It was a bit unusual. So she approached them. Being that she was returned from the dead, she offered them the ability to study her if they would teach her their ways, basically. So she was trained in the art of the long death, so she's a long death monk, and she was taught how to fight. She was given beautiful fan weapons, so she's got weapons that are fans, but they've got blades on them, so very beautiful but deadly. and they, at the end of her training, gave her the name Malice, because her former name meant scorn, it meant something horrible in Drow, and it was a source of shame, so they gave her the name Malice to reflect what she had become and sent her out into the world. She's basically furious at the world, always been looked down upon,
And
very violent.
you also have whilst you were at the monastery, you were somewhat secluded and protected by the monks, but obviously now being out in the world, you have certainly come to learn that House Arcana has certainly not forgotten the actions that Malice took, and you are constantly kind of having to play this cat and mouse game of staying one step ahead of Drow agents trying to come after you, and you suspect not even kill you, perhaps take you alive, return you to the Underdark for worse punishments, which obviously you would like to avoid. And the other thing is, at some point, and you're not even sure, you remember necessarily when, you became into the possession of a silver raven figurine, which you've come to learn is called Fenthas, and it is a figurine of wondrous power which you can summon into a silver raven that can deliver messages, but it seems to have some sort of weird prophecy and element about it. It's elvish in make, not drow make, it's actually elvish, surface elf, so unusual that it would come to you, but that has come into your possession. Tom Hazel.
Hello. The voice, okay. So I need to figure out exactly what it is.
You don't need to do the voice right now, you can just tell us about the character for now.
It's either, alright pal, how's it going? Yeah. Or, alright pal, how's it going?
I know which one I prefer.
First one.
First one? Alright then.
There's one I would happily listen to for 6 hours.
Okay.
And then there's one I'm going to murder you if I have to listen to for more than 30 minutes.
In that case,
I'm right next
my
to
name is Tol Shank Orboard, and I am a mastermind rogue. You need anything stealing, and I'll take it right out of your hands without you even knowing about it. I can get into the smallest of nooks and crannies, I can get into whatever you like, and I'll be in and out in a flash. No one will see me. Master of the criminal underground.
Literally underground.
Literally the underground.
Being a deep gnome.
Being a deep gnome.
Smurf Neblin.
Smurf Neblin.
We got there.
I'll stop the voice.
Okay. Yeah, it's also going to wreck your voice if you
Yeah,
keep
it
doing
is.
that.
So I'll stop that.
So tell us about Tol Shank.
Tol Shank Orborn is, he's a master of the criminal underground. He runs his own little gangs. He, he has almost like, what is it, Sherlock Holmes? He has those people that he like pays a little bit money.
Yeah, like the beggars and
It's
stuff
like,
like
yeah,
that.
his beggars
like
network.
the
He's
beggars
got like
network.
contacts all over the place, gives him information, tells him the high price items that are coming in and out of the city so he can organise either raids or, take the items for himself,
Silver it off, yeah.
sell them off to his little fence that he can manage the profits and things like that. And like enemy of the rich, vicious as well.
He's a bit of a thug, right? Like, he likes busting kneecaps and...
Busting kneecaps. He's got like protection rackets. He goes to small businesses and basically like takes control, extorts them for all their worth.
Okay.
And if anyone doesn't pay up, he's going to come and visit. Smashing a kneecap or two.
Yeah. Depends.
See how he's feeling.
Okay.
Flip of a coin, really.
Or 3, depending on the creature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's a particular,
It's 4 kneecaps.
if there's like a spider that's running a small business, I don't know what small business they're going to run, but that's 8 kneecaps he can smash in.
Do spiders have kneecaps?
They do now.
He hits
to Tol Shank they do, yeah.
anything that closely resembles a
Anything
kneecap.
with
he's
legs.
Any joint.
And is there... He had a particular heist he was working on. Did you decide to go with that in the end?
Yeah, so there was a item that was going to be worth a lot of money, and he was working with his fence, with his partner, who is hereby named York. I need to come up with backstories in advance, really.
It's generally advised, but thinking on your feet does have its benefits. Okay, York.
So this item was this cloak, this magical cloak that is, it's got a name.
It does have a name.
It's called Duke Zalair's Magnificent Cloak. Now this item was going to make them a lot of money. Tol Shank, however, mid-heist, just as he discovered it, but his partner hadn't, he decided to betray his partner, make off with the cloak, be off on his way. His partner betrayed him, furious that he'd do this thing, and obviously he would, but York killed him. But didn't find out where he'd actually hidden this cloak before killing him. So using his massive wealth and organisation and contacts and everything, brought him back because the treasure map.
It's all up there.
It's all in the mines.
And then you escaped.
And I escaped his clutches after a furious beating, and now I'm in Neverwinter to basically try and restart everything. I've lost, like, news of my death. The sort of organisation crumpled in on
your
itself.
network. You don't necessarily have the same amount of contacts that you once had.
Yeah, it's all been taken over by York.
Okay.
But I've now come to Neverwinter. I'm sort of paying little bits of money here and there, sort of trying to get my network back up and running in a different place.
Okay.
I've also got Duke Zolaire's magnificent cloak.
Yeah. So this is like a flame red cloak with like iron patches on it and things like that.
Yeah. And is also a symbol of hatred for the sea people.
Well, I mean, because you know, in your heist, you did learn a little bit of the backstory about Duke Zolaire's cloak, and he was a mad fire giant who declared war on the sea, and so has earned the enmity of not just creatures of the sea, but any kind of goddesses or gods of the sea.
Yeah.
Generally, if you wear this cloak, don't go in the sea.
He doesn't care. He's wearing it.
He's wearing it.
It looks magnificent.
It is magnificent.
It is a magnificent cloak.
And okay, so and then you've got the network, and you're building that up on.
What do you both look like?
Oh, me. Malice she has the dark skin of a drow. She has long, silvery white poker straight hair down to about her waist. And she wears very, like, sort of cloth that's very dark in colour. Lots of wraps around her. She's got wraps around her legs and stuff. The cloth is sort of a tunic that then goes out into lots of long flowing fabrics, all very dark though. And she's got fans with
Is
sleeves.
her skin slightly lighter coloured than
Slightly
normal
lighter,
drows? Yeah, because
but-
like obviously drow have like deep purple or pitch black kind of skin, so
Yeah.
obviously it's a bit more of a dusky colour.
But she's still very much, you look at her and
You think
you'd
drow.
think, if a surface dweller looked at her, they'd think drow. She's got bright eyes, which are very slightly tinted lilac.
There you go.
And I am a deep gnome with
So grey skin.
Yeah, very, very deep grey skin. They come from like deep mines and things like that. It's got like a shaven side of one head, mohawk sort of thing on the other side.
Sombre.
Yeah, a very sombre look. And he sort of wears a lot of fine clothing, silks, and he's got medallion rings and things like that, but he doesn't necessarily wear them like they should be worn.
Okay.
He just has them on because they look and feel great.
Okay.
Like,
So it's like
feel
lots of
great.
layers of like maybe like a shirt and a
like
vest
silks,
and a coat
like
and like
cloaks, feathers, things like
Okay.
that. They just,
okay.
yeah, like all sort of everything that he's wearing is like a museum of his
Life.
Maybe
skills.
like handkerchiefs, but like tied around his wrist and
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that, like little things that he's picked up. Nice, I like
and
it.
like medallions and stuff like that.
Okay. And then last, but certainly not least, Kim, why don't you tell us who you are playing and what they look like?
You ready for, like, you know?
Are you ready? Are you ready, audience?
For the super kind of
Edgelord!
Edgelord! Jeez. So do we want to know like the full kind of like how she died and stuff like that?
You can
Like,
keep
or
us.
do you wanna do
I would say
mysterious mysteries?
give us a brief kind of overview.
So I am playing a fallen Arsamar
Arsmar.
blood hunter called Worthless. And she is a fallen Arsamar because she used to be a follower of Lathander, who is kind of the god of birth, renewal, spring.
As this is on the D&D channel, praise Lathander the morning light.
Evelyn.
Evelyn is, if you watch DCA, Dice Camera Action, you will know who Lathander is very much.
But over the course of kind of her servitude, she starts to have doubts as to the point of this all and the fairness of it all. Usual kind of theological kind of, oh God, what is the meaning of life? You know, why
Oh God.
Yeah, why does Lathander
is-
allow bad things to happen, kind of thing.
Right. Crisis of faith.
Yeah, a crisis of faith, and she starts becoming aware of the teachings of Velsharoon, who he's not a god, he's like an arch lich, isn't he? Or
Yeah, it's
Oh.
kind of it's what they call a demi-deity.
Yeah.
So somebody who is very close to the ascension of God.
he's making his
Like
way.
level
He's
20.
making his way through the ranks.
Yeah.
And basically he believes in necromancy, that like death is another extension of life. That to truly be in command of oneself and life, you need to master death and have that as part of it all. So she starts kind of getting into that.
Getting into that,
Yeah. And in the process of researching into it, she becomes close with a cleric called, well, I'm not going to say, but
A male cleric.
a male cleric of Velsharoon. And yeah, it's a little bit Romeo and Juliet. She gets pregnant, which of course her order find out about and are furious because she's literally sleeping with the enemy.
Velsharoon represents very much the very antithesis of
Yep.
Lathander. Like, he is the
Yep.
direct opposite of everything that they
Yeah,
believe.
and
so.
they hate each other as well. So yeah, she is put to trial, and her punishment is execution for having an illegitimate child.
What about the child?
We don't know what happens to her. She doesn't know. Yeah, Worthless is executed, and she is brought back to life. Do we want to say how?
I would say she is brought back to life. Let's just say that.
Okay. And so she spends her time now, like she's basically gone insane. She's gone mad through grief, through anger, through confusion as to why her peers, who are very close, like family,
Suddenly.
would so easily just turn their back on her and, call her names like, like slut, like, worthless, like ashamed and stuff like that, kind of just taunting her and tormenting her before her execution. So she now searches the world for her partner and also for her child. For any kind of news, is the child still alive? Where are they? That kind of thing. And, as a result, she's very, she's gone completely mad. And she's kind of, in folklore, villagers have started calling her the woman in white or the crying woman, because whenever she appears or they spot her, a child seems to go missing from the village. I'm not
Darkness!
I'm not going to say more about that. She looks like, she looks like
She's
Athena.
older, right?
Yeah,
That's the other
she's
thing.
in her 60s.
Yeah, because and we don't know. There's a lot of rumor about how long this has been going on. Like, it could be that this all happened. Like, her execution was considerably some time ago. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, and she doesn't know herself because she's gone
pretty
mad.
nuts.
Like, she's gone absolutely mad. And yeah, so she's quite bloodthirsty when she tries to find information. She doesn't enjoy it, but she's like, I will find information on where.
A bit of Liam Neeson taken in her.
Yeah, a little bit. And she actually is very kind towards mothers and children because she feels like she has an affinity with them. She yearns for that lost motherhood. But yeah, so she looks essentially like Athena. So white robes, Grecian-style helmet. She's wielding a spear. But everything about her is just really tattered and like she hasn't washed and maintained her armor or her weapon, and she looks very run down and unkempt hair, and yeah, you can see that she clearly doesn't care about her appearance and stuff. She's just so singularly focused on finding her child and finding her partner.
Nice.
And she also carries a shield that you recovered. It's up to you really where you acquired this, probably in sort of like a search for something, perhaps like your old one was broken. Because as you're doing these wanderings, you are going to encounter things like orcs and bandits and things along the way. Perhaps your shield was broken at one point and you just happened to come across this dwarven shield, bears symbols for things like hearth and runes for family and things like that. And there's kind of been certainly an affinity of this shield that she's kind of picked up. And it's probably the one thing out of all of the things she carries that doesn't look tarnished. It still looks pretty new and well made. Whereas everything else, like the armor, you can see is rusted, and the spear is certainly not being kept properly sharp, so it's a little bit blunt and things like that. But the shield, however, is perhaps the one thing which is still semi-intact. There we go. So that is everybody's characters.
Where we are and why we are in Neverwinter.
Oh, I can imagine she'd be in Neverwinter. She doesn't really like going into big civilizations. Because she doesn't like people or big crowds. But I imagine she would be in there trying to kind of pick up on rumours as to where, like she maybe heard a rumour that, her partner was sighted somewhere or something like that.
We also have this thing of like, you know that the Harpers are working in this city and you do have this illness and these nightmares, which you clearly all know. This isn't like you just think you can brush it off. Like, there is something wrong with you. You know that there is a physical illness. You can't stop retching. There is a nausea. You sometimes cough up black bile, and also this recurring nightmare is almost identical, and it feels otherworldly. It feels like it is a message being driven to you. There is at no point do you kind of go, oh, it's just a nightmare, or oh, it's just a dream. Like, you can tell that there is something serious about it.
You just can't ignore it.
Yeah, and this is, and you know, what you've learned from various investigations is the Harpers at least are looking into it, and they might have more information for you. As it so happens, when you get into the city, you are approached by Ancients. So what kind of things? So you're out there, you're maybe going around asking.
Would there be a Temple of Velshrune?
No, things like Velshrune, generally because Neverwinter is run by a traditionally good, heroic kind of figure, it has corrupt governments and it has thieves guilds and things like that, but they wouldn't allow an open temple to Velshrune. There's a temple to Lathander, a huge cathedral to Lathander, which is in the city. There are temples to other gods and things like that. But there perhaps might be cults of Velshrune, there might be cults of other evil gods, but they would certainly be very secretive and reclusive. But it's probably likely you're asking around, like asking about your partner and the family and things like that. And Harper agents approach you, and they kind of approach you as, they vary, might be a middle-aged woman or something like that, who comes and speaks to you and says, I might know somebody that can help you with this. You might be able to help them with something. And they give you a note, like a letter, a sealed letter, and inside is just the address for a pub, a bar called the Shadowed Glass, in an area called the Shard of Night, which is a portion of Neverwinter, which is kind of full of taverns and red light districts and things like that. And it's kind of like a seedy part of the town, and it's called the Shadowed Glass. Shank. What sort of thing might Shank be up to, along with trying to locate, is he up to anything in the city in particular, or?
I think right now he is in a more sort of noble, richer district of Neverwinter, if such a thing exists.
Yeah, absolutely. No, in probably the Black Lake district, which is a large lake area with like very kind of well-to-do townhouses and things like that all around it.
Is sort of just standing by the side, sort of in under like trees, shadows, things like that, in corners, just sort of observing the people that come past, see if he can pick out someone that just looks particularly like either nervous or like they've got big coin pouches, things like that. Just
most certainly. I mean, looking around, you see there are wealthy nobles. I mean, Neverwinter is a pretty wealthy, affluent city. You see people clad in jewelry, with rich clothing. In terms of nervousness, there's certainly like, you might see a couple of young men like looking quite nervous as they walk around, like eyeing up ladies and things like that.
Well, in all of those situations, he's sort of coasting like around, sort of trailing them, trying to eavesdrop on their conversation, see if he can pick up on any like, I don't know, hot commodities.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you know that there is a thing in Neverwinter called the Chasm, which during a part of history called the Sundering, demons and elementals and things erupted out of it. That's now been sealed, and the creatures have been killed. But there's a lot of rich minerals, and like things like gemstones are turning up more frequently in the area. Also, wizards are always looking for things like demon hearts and things like that. And there's a lot of talk of there's all that kind of the way that people kind of talk about rumor and rumor mill, like there's all like, oh, have you heard, like, oh, there's a cult of devils roaming around the chasm and things like that, and there's always that kind of talk. And as you're kind of approaching and you're thinking, oh, there might be a bit of a job here, you actually become acutely aware that you're not alone. Like, somebody is following you as you are following these people. And you can just see this little halfling man who's just kind of grinning at you. He's wearing a kind of like a feathered cap. He's got like a quite vibrant looking suit on, rings on his finger. And he's just, he's like looking around, and then if you catch his eye, he's like...
Do I recognise him?
Probably not at this stage, I would say. But he kind of looks over and he's like gesturing over.
I think I'm just going to actively not avoid the glare of him or whatever. I'm sort of going to take a turn as if I'm following something myself, down like some back alleys, things like that, and sort of curve away from him, because I would be concerned that he is apart from my old organisation.
So why don't you give me a stealth check?
Okay.
Let's check that out.
That is, holy moly, 24.
24, okay.
First roll of the day.
First
Damn.
roll of
That's a good
the
roll.
day.
GG. Panini.
Plus 9 to
You
stealth.
easily, the little halfling fellow, you easily lose him. Like,
Okay.
you kind of make your way round, you skulk through various little alleyways.
I think the intention wasn't necessarily to lose him,
Okay,
but to have him, like, I would have him knowingly sort of follow me.
Mhm.
I guess he would think that I haven't spotted him in a way.
okay,
So I can sort of set up some
You
sort
want
of...
an ambush kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Oh, easily enough. You can kind of lure him down little alleyways. There's a small park in the Black Lake District, which seems quite secluded, and you kind of take him down a little nature path where it's kind of all surrounded by foliage and buildings around. So there's like nobody can really see in while you're walking down this little narrow path.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's now...
Yeah, he's following you, but kind of whistling and just kind of like casually following along behind, but constantly keeping an eye on you. And he's definitely trailing you. He's definitely tailing you.
Any rocky or dark terrain nearby?
Dark, yeah, you can definitely try and hide in the shadows of the trees and things like that.
I don't suppose I could throw my voice.
What? Do you mean magically or like naturally as like a ventriloquist can?
Yeah, almost.
You can make a perform check.
Okay, it's literally just a who sent you sort of.
Okay.
Where'd you come from?
You're trying to throw your voice as you do it.
Oh.
Yeah, you kind of like dart off to the side and you throw your voice to try and make it sound like it's coming from
Just a
like the
opposite,
next
yeah.
kind of the opposite side.
In an attempt that if he were to walk forward towards that voice, I would be behind him.
Behind him.
Yeah.
So he kind of turns round, like eyes it curiously, and he raises out his hands and he's like, "Oh, nobody that you need to concern yourself with, friend." And he's talking away from you. He's just like, "I'm actually here with maybe some friends that could be able to help you." And he pulls out a piece of paper with a seal, and you can see it's sealed with a small harp.
Right. I want to, with stealth, sleight of hand,
Uh-huh.
I want to snatch it from his hand
Okay.
without him even like
Realizing
knowing
you're taking
which
it.
direction
Sure.
it's just come from.
Sleight of
Sort
hand check.
of dash in, take the thing before he even realizes. 9. I think that's 18. 18, yeah.
18. You go to snatch it, and then in an instant, he's actually turned around, and you can see that kind of he was wearing this kind of like overcoat and like this kind of brightly coloured kind of vest, and you can see that just poking out from the under it is a hand crossbow, and he holds it. You've kind of got his hand on it, and he turns around to you, and he just like grins, and he just puts it away, and he's just like just gives it to you, and he just holds his hands up. He says, "I do recommend you keep away from the Black Lake District. Some unfriendly folks are around these parts." And he kind of gives you a wink, and he turns and heads off.
Right, I'm not even going to inquire as to who he is or where he's from. It's just, I'll read the note.
You read the note, it says the same thing, the shadowed glass in the
Yeah.
Shard of Night. What would Malice potentially be doing? Now, being a drow, certainly if you move amongst in the out of the open, there is a lot of suspicious glances. The surface folk are always a little bit wary of folk. I mean, it has been made good steps. Heroes like Dristawurden have kind of shifted some of the racial prejudice you may have faced, but certainly people are very suspicious to start with.
Oh, Malice actually may have been travelling with Worthless a little bit.
Possibly, yeah. We probably would have split up though in the sea.
Do you think? Yeah. Okay. In which case she will probably... Do we have a rough idea of where the Harpers sort of reside in the city? Because I think she'd probably be not like sneaking a little bit, but trying to figure out where they are
they might
based.
be.
Not so much, she wouldn't be walking in the open.
Yeah. So the problem with the Harpers is one of the reasons that they are so good at what they do is that they don't really have headquarters, they don't operate in certain areas. They are basically anywhere and everywhere where they need to be. But you suspect that somewhere like the Shard of Night, somewhere which is a bit seedier, is more likely to have them. You do know that a lot of them try and pretend to be musicians, and so you kind of spend a bit of time trying to travel around, witnessing troops of performers and things like that, in bars, you know, kind of keeping out of the way, like not being out in the big groups, like waiting for large groups to pass and then skulking your way down streets and things like that. You find a couple of them, after inquiring maybe in a couple of places, like asking around if like anybody knows, a half-elven woman who is playing violin in a bar. She kind of looks over She kind of nods to you and then gestures over, kind of thing, subtly.
Go over. Why not?
She looks over and she just kind of gives you a nudge. And she says, "If you're looking for musicians," and she kind of gives you a look, "as I've been hearing, you should check out the Shadowed Glass. It's a small tavern. Go there this evening. There's a good performer there called Dana."
Thank you. Where was it that you were hearing of me?
I hear a lot of things in this city. Also, people of your heritage don't really go unnoticed, even with the best of intentions. But don't worry, you've got some people making sure that no trouble comes to you.
Well, that's comforting to hear.
And she kind of goes back to her performance.
I'm gonna leave immediately.
Taryn.
So Terran was born and raised in Neverwinter.
Okay, so you're a
knows,
homeboy.
He knows this place,
Okay.
and he knows the Harpers are notoriously difficult to find. So he's just storming down alleyways and streets in his huge heavy plate, clanking along.
You soon, there are periods where there are occasionally, guard watches who, see you, and all it takes is one sort of, sharp look or, a flex of the muscle, and they're just, they kind of watch you, make sure that you're not doing anything violent, but they certainly don't approach you. They don't try and stop you or ask you where you're going.
On a mission.
Yeah.
And also I've got military background, so I think they might
You can just
understand.
bark orders and
Yeah.
stuff. You kind of carry yourself with that soldier's weight.
I have leadership qualities, and I'm just wandering through, and occasionally just grabbing people by the scruff and Harpers.
They're like, I don't know, sir, and they just kind of look at you
and throw them
thrown away and kind of stuff like that.
Carry on.
After you kind of stomp around for a few hours kind of doing this, and eventually guardsmen do approach you. There's a squad of 5 of them, all wearing chainmail. They've got the helms, 4 helms kind of enclosed, shields with the symbol of Neverwinter, of Lord Neverember emblazoned, and one who appears to be maybe a sergeant or lieutenant carries his helm. He's wearing breastplate. He kind of approaches and he's like, "My good man, do you have a moment perhaps?"
Make it quick.
He addresses you and he kind of tries to stand up full, but he does come perhaps a few inches shorter.
I just take grief, from where I don't know how I hold grief.
You probably have
A huge scab on
it would have
my
to be
back.
some sort of huge scabbard. I mean, a back one is very difficult to get it out of. Probably more of a clip, so it's probably more of a
I'm not
clip.
doing it in an intimidating way. I'm
just-
just it's heavy, but I'm just gonna slice it into the ground here and just rest
lean on it
a
and
second.
stuff. He certainly eyes it, and you hear a couple of the guards
Huge,
you hear some nervous coughs and things like that. My superiors have heard reports that an imposing fellow in armor has been harassing civilians, asking for the whereabouts of a certain organization that operates in the city sometimes. Is your intent to locate this group violent? Do you have some quarrel with the Harpers?
Look, what's your name?
Sergeant Kalen.
You're green. I understand that. You're new to this job. I can tell by your demeanor.
Somewhat, but I've faced a few things.
I assure you, I won't kill you. I won't kill your men. I won't kill what I'm looking for. I'm just asking questions.
And if you find them, you will be leaving the city afterwards, I suspect?
I mean, it's a free town.
It is. If you were to stay, I would ask that you perhaps are not so direct with questioning the civilians. I can help point you in the direction that you need, but I would hope that a man of certainly your training would appreciate that these people are just trying to go about their lives.
And I'm just trying to go about my business without some green guards getting in my way.
And you can see a few of them take a few steps back. The one who's kind of talking to you just tries to stand his ground a little. That may be the case.
However, I assure you, I will not be breaking any laws today.
Good. I suggest you head to a place called the Shadowed Glass. We know that at least one of their agents called Halloway operates there.
Interesting. Interesting how the local guard are okay with who I'm about to speak to.
The Harpers do a lot of good for the city, especially during certain difficult times. And perhaps, whilst they may be new to the job, and not exactly green as you say. And
We'll see.
perhaps. And he kind of like eyes you up a little bit.
I do like a into his face.
He doesn't flinch. And you can see there's a small trace. As you lean in closer, you can see on his neck, you've seen this kind of thing before. It's a deep scar generally caused by things like demon fire. And you do know that like Neverwinter had problems like with these demons crawling out of the chasm, and a lot of locals just formed their own militia to fight them. Although he wears the uniform quite awkwardly and he's quite green in terms of his rank, there's a seasoned fighter element to him. Like there's a kind of thing of like, now that you've kind of seen that he doesn't flinch, there's a bit of respect.
Yeah, a bit of respect. Okay. All right, hey soldier, we're done.
And he nods. He goes, all right, come on, let's continue the patrol. And the others avoid you with a wide berth.
I might have broken that guy's collarbone back there. You might want to see to him.
They check, and he's like holding his arm, like, and he's like staggering around. It's like, we'll take a look.
I won't break any more collarbones.
He heads up. He like nods, and then he heads over.
Right, and I'm gonna beeline towards the shadow glass
Okay.
place.
Okay. The shadowed glass is the first things first. The Shard of Night is crooked little town. Kind of imagine little tiny alleyways with cobblestone streets packed in together, storefronts and bars, delis, all kind of just crammed in with each other. There are people constantly lurking under half-broken lanterns. I'm trying to think of lampposts, kind of casting a suspicious look around. There are crowds of drunken revelers as the night draws in, and people generally going about, but it's a very confined, narrow little place, full of these kind of little spider webs of networks and alleyways. You make your way you ask around, each of you individually finding this way to this place called the Shadowed Glass, and it is a small, kind of almost just like a front, basically, with a staircase leading down. Little tiny narrow staircase. As you descend down into it, you get the sense that this was perhaps maybe an old cellar that belonged in like a larger house, because it's quite large, but the ceiling is quite narrow. Terran, you kind of have to stoop a little bit as you're, quite tall.
Nice.
Inside, you can see plush, dark wood tables, velvet kind of cushions, and a long bar stretched at the back. For such a nice place in such a busy area, the bar is empty. There is only one man sitting at the bar, a crystal kind of decanter with 5 glasses, one poured already, who is just sipping at it and just seems to be reading some parchments. Behind the bar is a young human woman who is cleaning glasses and making her way around, serving drinks, that sort of thing. And you can see kind of just in the corner there appears to be kind of a hooded and cloaked man. You can see weapons and armor kind of just in the corner, basically keeping an eye on things. You see the rest of you as a group, Talon probably being one of the last ones, the 3 of you kind of arriving briefly before as this kind of hulking armoured man. The armour, you kind of have to twist your body to get down this narrow stairwell as this kind of hulking figure kind of steps in. And with the kind of the footsteps of you making that last step, the man who was sat at the bar, a half-elf actually, you can see one of his ears, the tip has been like ripped off and is scarred and healed, kind of turns around. He's got quite a handsome face, kind of stubbly kind of beard, like 5 o'clock kind of shadow, blonde hair kind of pushed back and swept back, loose leather tunic, a knife at his belt kind of thing. He just turns around and he's just like, good, you're all here. Come, have a drink. Sit down, there's no reason we can't at least make this comfortable.
I'll be hiding in a corner in the shadows, just so that, I'm not comfortable with this.
Did you just move into a corner of the bar?
No, I was already like there.
You're just
like,
already there, just
in.
like
I was just kind of like
looking around.
crouching.
Yeah, you kind of see this woman in the bar. He kind of just raises his arms.
I'll walk over to the bar, flick a coin in the air, and then slam it down onto the bar. Yeah, and just order something strong.
You just say something strong. The man looks over and like the woman is like, she kind of starts pouring out. You can see her pouring out almost like a treacle-looking substance into a shot glass.
Oh, the thicker the better.
That she plants down. She kind of scrapes the coin away. The man also pours you a small kind of like a tumbler glass of like this kind of amber-looking, you suspect bourbon or whiskey or something like that.
Okay.
And just puts it next, in case you need a chaser, of course.
Thank you.
I'll storm up next to him.
Next to this one or next to the
next
guy?
to him at the bar.
Okay.
I say, either cocky or foolish to put your trust in the barkeep. I'll have a whiskey on the rocks.
Pours one. He actually like gestures over. The woman comes over, scoops out like some little ice, puts it in the glass, slides it over, kind of thing. And what about you, Miss Underdark?
I am going to, so you're in the corner, I'm going to sit at the bar, far away from these guys, but still, so I'm sort of closer to Worthless.
Okay.
And I'm going to flick out a normal fan,
Okay.
just a mundane fan,
And just gently.
and just start fanning my face.
He's just like, he slides a glass towards you,
No,
full of
thank
the
you.
thing. He's like, oh, well, if you want anything else, simply ask. Now, I have come to understand it since entering the city. Some of you have been asking some questions, looking for an organization, some sort of spies or some sort of group calling themselves the Harpers, perhaps? I'll take the silence as something of a yes. I know for a fact that you all have. I'm Halloway. You may refer to me as Halloway. Not real name. Don't bother trying to find out who it belongs to. And, well, let's put cards on the table, shall we? I know that all of you have some problems, varying from the personal to the medical. I know that I could certainly use your help, even if the Harper superiors don't agree with me, and I think we can help each other. Now, what I'd like to do is, and this is Mark speaking, not the character, what are all of you initially thinking? Honestly, what are you thinking? Like just, initially, straight away reaction.
Well, straight reaction is I'm gonna have like quite a high pitched, but like a not crazy loud, but it's almost just like a really quick like sort of whistle.
Yep.
And that's a signal to, like, I've got people outside that can probably hear such a thing, and they're not preparing to burst the place, but they're on guard, ready to bust in.
So that's what you're thinking, like, I'll get my boys ready, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. What is everyone else
I
thinking?
think because we've met each other before and we've potentially discussed what's happened.
I don't think you would know too much because she's
Not
very
too much about
secretive, like so you
specifics,
wouldn't. Yeah.
but
and
there's
she's always
something not right.
I mean, the reason why we split up in the city is because whenever I go and find information, I don't want you there because I don't want other people knowing.
But
my
we
business. But you know
that there's something from traveling, the feelings.
Yeah.
It's been noticeable.
I mean,
So
things
I
like being
think
sick and stuff
initially knowing that since I have someone else that I know that something is wrong with, and I know myself that I'm unwell, that's going to interest me, and I'm going to probably think immediately that it is because of this feeling that's been going on.
I'm probably being batshit crazy. I probably thought that the visions were part of kind of because I used to get visions from Lathander when I was
You
full
thought it was part of the
Arsenal.
punishment kind of thing.
Yeah, I initially thought that it was punishment from him, to kind of be, traumatized with this. But traveling with Malice, and seeing that she's getting the same sort of things, I know I'm starting to
Now
kind
this
of,
person's saying that, perhaps hinting that it's not just you.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's Terran thinking?
Taryn's thinking, get to the point with
Okay.
this guy, and also weighing up all these people in case he has to kill them all.
Okay.
I'm like
No,
mega sus though. I'm like hiding in the shadows and I'm kind of crouching, kind of,
Yeah.
Okay.
He's thinking
On
exit strategy.
You watch as
she's ready on her feet.
the
to
barmaid kind of
dash.
moves over to the far end of the bar, probably closer to Malice actually, and she's kind of cleaning some glasses. What's your passive perception?
I don't know.
What's your perception bonus?
1.
3.
3. Okay, so she's just cleaning some glasses. Halloway kind of like looks around for a moment, and he's just like, all right, first things first, let me get to the point. And he says,
Take a shot of whiskey at that point.
he takes a sip. We're not here to cause any trouble. I'm here to offer some help. I represent a faction within the Harpers. Some of my superiors would call it unorthodox planning. You're all suffering from something, what we are referring to as a death curse. It's not just affecting you, it's affecting various other individuals throughout the Forgotten Realms, throughout Toril. There is a facet to it where people cannot be brought back from the dead at this present time. this is being kept highly secret from the public to avoid causing panic. The Harpers have agents out there investigating various sources. We're speaking to wizards, high clerics, trying to figure out what might be causing it, but so far we haven't had any luck. There is a job I have that I would like to offer all of you. Now, first things first, Shank is the name, I believe, Mr. Fellow Deep Gnome?
That's Tall Shank, yeah.
Shank, that's correct. Your friends that you had waiting outside, they won't be joining us, but I've made sure that they've not come to any harm. And he kind of gives you
Hand
a
on
grin.
cane. I'm sort of preparing now. like,
Are you thinking that you want to attack, or are you
not
just
ready
getting
to attack, but I'm
Okay.
sort of now I'm
Preparing
sort of eyeing
yourself.
up everyone else around the room.
Okay.
Now I'm on my own.
Okay. He looks over and he's just like, and certainly the Harpers' payment for your assistance would be able to help you with some problems. Certain parties that might be chasing after you, perhaps, or helping you find people that might be missing from your lives. Perhaps try and find good comrades, or what might have happened to you over certain events.
Before you butter us up with reward, what's the cost?
I like this man. Straight to the point. Not often I get to deal with that in my business. I need you to go to somewhere. Somewhere where the Harpers can't send their regular agents because, quite frankly, it's dangerous and they'll stick out like sore thumbs. I need killers and bastards and criminals because you'll fit right in. I need you to go to Thay. And you can all make a history check to see what you know about Thay.
Use my really nice D20.
Nice D20, which you might see a bit more of on our regular stream.
What check was that, sorry?
History, please.
11. I also rolled my very nice D20.
18.
I got
18?
11.
18.
18. Is Worthless does he even care, or are you focused on...
Crazy lady rolled 3.
Okay.
Crazy lady.
So,
No history.
Terran and Malice. Malice, in your dealings with the Surface Dwellers, you almost certainly would have arranged for House Arcanath to meet with Red Wizards of Thay. Generally, evil spellcasters looking to bring down the civilized world of the Sword Coast and Cormyr and many other low lands in Toril. They are generally not nice people. They come from a kingdom ruled by mages, where strength is the most important thing in the world. The weak are completely ruled, and the strong are the ones in charge. Very powerful magicians. Most of the dealings that you had with Arcanath was Red Wizards providing magical services for the Drow houses, helping them summon demons, creating undead, creating magic items, that sort of thing. Very renowned for creating magic items. Terran, you know things from a slightly different perspective. You've actually fought probably against Thay many times in little border skirmishes or where they've tried to invade the lands. They use considerable amounts of undead as shock troops. In Thay, undeath is not a social taboo. It is a way of life. They see the undead as just a tool to be used. They also use a lot of slaves, and they tend to use a lot of slaves in their armed forces as kind of to carry weapons and armor. Sometimes they even just use them as shields to run out to draw arrow fire and things like that.
They're despicable.
But the one thing that Terran might respect from them is they are about full conquest. They do not yield, they don't show mercy or pity. When they seek to conquer or fight, they do so with a focused, determined purpose. And they don't let, mercy. Yeah, they don't let things like mercy. They don't take prisoners. They might take slaves if you're particularly strong and useful, but generally they will just murder you. Especially their knights. Their knights are actually quite brutal in combat and generally quite well respected.
Okay.
Highly trained.
I respect that.
Units. Yeah,
I don't like the fact that they put undead and slaves in the front lines.
Yeah, because to you that's not glorious combat.
Do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So that's maybe something a little bit of you know about that.
Okay.
Holloway looks to the rest of you and he's just like, the current leader of Thay is a lich, an undead being of immortal power called Sastam. He took over the country a few centuries or so ago after killing most of his allies. And he's an extremely powerful necromancer. We know he's attempted wide-scale necromancy in the past, and we believe that this curse is some form of necromancy. So it's highly likely he's either responsible, knows what it is, or knows how to deal with it.
He wants to take him.
I want you to travel to Thay, learn if the wizards and Saztam have created this curse, if they're responsible for it, put a stop to it if they are, or if they're not, learn what they know about it. Because, frankly, they're probably going to have more information than any other necromancer in Toril.
What was his name?
Saztam. Now, Saztam's the leader of the entire country. I don't expect you to go after him specifically. I have a contact in a city called Byzantur. It's a port town that I'm going to be sending you to. I want you to meet with the contact, learn what you can about the city, and insinuate yourselves. Become friends with the Red Wizards. Become friends with their political powers in the cities. Just find out what's going on, and if they're responsible, find out whatever you can. Not only that, but I can give you some information now. This curse, this sickness you're currently suffering with is only going to get worse. We've had some seers and mages. They can't figure out what's causing it, but they do know that eventually it's going to start draining your life force. You're going to slowly start dying once again. Probably ticking away every day.
That's useful for you.
Well, not just for me. It's not just you that's affecting it. There's a lot of, I would call them innocent people, but I'm not sure what you would call them, suffering from this effect as well. And while it is currently in place, things like resurrections aren't possible. So it's a problem for the whole of Toril, not just you four. But yes, it certainly gives you an onus to investigate this matter. But I'm more than willing to offer my help in looking after your own interests as well.
Can I roll an insight check on him to see if he is also
Absolutely you can.
suffering himself? Insight is... where is it? 15.
15. You don't get the sense that he's suffering himself, but the way he was talking about it, maybe somebody close to him? Like, there was definitely a case of, like, when you kind of mentioned it, oh, useful to you, he was very quick to point out that it's not just you four that's being affected by it. And you're kind of reading that maybe somebody he cares about might be under the effects, and he wants to see it done as quickly as possible. The fact that he is speaking to people of your backgrounds
Caliber.
is perhaps also evidence to how quickly he wants this resolved. You don't know much about Thay. It's not really something you've really looked into, so you're not sure how involved that would be. Yeah, he turns around and he's like, if you can send word back once you've investigated it, I'll be more than happy to help you with personal matters that you may be troubling with. I have procured a ship for you to expedite the journey. It's a Haluran airship. It will take you much faster than by sea. I will also provide some equipment to help you infiltrate the city itself. And when you get there, seek out a person called William Barn. He leads the Bloody Banner Company, a mercenary company currently working in Thay. The city you'll be traveling to is called Byzantur.
And your contact out there is the only Harper contact you have?
He's not a Harper. He's more the Deep Gnomes type of person. He's a mercenary. He's currently working for some sort of guild or traders union or something out there. He's an ally of mine, not of the Harpers. But he's the only person I can trust to talk to you and not kill you on sight.
Great.
And you're paying this man well, I assume?
He owes some favours, let's put it that way.
See, the trouble with mercenaries is they always go for the highest bidder. If anyone else is paying more, who's to say he's going to lead us down the wrong path?
I can't promise that, but to be honest, knowing William, he's not actually going to help you. He's going to tell you what he knows about Thay. He might point you in the right directions of how you can get yourselves known, but don't expect him to come to your rescue at any point in time or not betray you. All I can do is basically get him to give you an introduction into the city.
And how about people who don't want to be known? People whose problems might follow them.
I can't assure you that they won't follow you, but I will certainly do my best efforts to keep them off your back as long as possible. Of course, Thay is a dangerous place, even for powerful groups, shall we say. Dealing with Thayans is tricky business, which is why I have to come to people of your caliber.
How do we know you'll pay us in the end? You'll fulfill your end of the bargain. As you said, bastards, mercenaries, killers.
Yes, that's a very good point. I suppose you don't have any assurances. But, of course, I could tell certain groups where you're going, where you're staying. Certain people that might be after you for certain fine items you may have procured. I could always keep information about people that you're looking for secret, maybe even hide them. I'm just speculating on possibilities, of course.
And him saying about, like, I could even hide them, Worthless is going to kind of hiss from the darkness and just be like, you know, you pay now.
I will not pay anything until we have assurances. Now look, I'm more than willing to be reasonable here. I will help you if you help me. If you don't help me, I can't make any such promises. I'm sure you can all understand that sort of status quo.
Of blackmail.
If you want to call it something like that. Of course, if you agree to help, consider me a trusted friend who will do everything he can to help you with your problems.
Friend is a stretch.
Acquaintance.
What
People
choice
like
do
the
we have?
Harpers. They when we want to be seen with people like us, I suppose.
Why do you think you're talking to me? I'm not exactly the Harper's favourite agent, let's put it that way. I like to get things done. I don't particularly care how that happens.
What assurance do we have that the Harpers don't shut down your little unorthodox regime?
Well, if they do, then I guess I'll help you as a private entity. I might not particularly agree with the Harper's goody two-shoes attitude, but I have my own code of morals, and once I make an agreement, I stick to it. Again, I can't offer you any promises. I can supply you with some equipment. I've purchased an airship to get you on your way, and let's not forget the fact that if this curse progresses as I think it might, you're going to slowly start rotting away and dying, so finding the source and the cause benefits you.
If what you're saying is true.
If what I am saying is true.
All
You're
right.
welcome to spend a few weeks here in Neverwinter and see how it plays out.
Very funny.
This is for the good of the innocent, I suppose.
This is for people that shouldn't be rotting away on the inside, let's put it that way.
Can I do an insight check to see?
You absolutely can.
I just want to see that thing of, like, you know, is he have the death curse?
Yeah.
23.
23. The way he's speaking, there's a nervous tick that whenever he when he says anybody who shouldn't be rotting from the inside, there's an emotion behind his eyes. Very clearly somebody he cares about, either a lover or maybe a child, maybe, like someone very, very close. He's desperately trying to hide it, and he's kind of got like a slight nervous tick when it happens, when he talks about it.
I'm still kind of going to be in the shadows, but sort of, you know, is it your child? Someone you love?
That fucking voice, like, I'm so creepy. He like looks at you with some cold eyes. Just kind of watches you for a moment and says, like, there's a lot of people I care about. I don't really want to see anybody rotten from the inside. Believe it or not, I don't particularly want to see useful contacts like yourselves suffer either.
Information is valuable. You tell me, then I know we have an affinity.
What if I don't, old woman? Are you going to pass up on this opportunity to find what you've lost? Are you going to let yourself rot away? At the end of the day, and please, I mean this with no disrespect, I am here to do business after all. I'm the one making an offer here. You can either take that offer and get my help, or you can leave.
Tell me to seal the pact.
I gave up on making pacts with creepy individuals a long time ago, and you can see that kind of his hands kind of almost like they were casting a spell, but nothing happens. Kind of almost like an old habit. He says like, no, I don't make pacts anymore. I make deals with mortals. And here's where mine stands. Go to Thay, find out the source, find out if the Red Wizards are responsible. Right back, inform me. I don't know how you can do that, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. And then I will help you. That is the deal.
Just whisper in this old lady's ear.
My dear, you wouldn't like it very much if I whisper. I used to make very bad things happen at a whisper. He kind of stares you down a little bit. You can see like this kind of torched off part of his ear.
Can I do an intimidation?
You can make intimidation, yeah.
Can I, in fact, activate Aquatic Shroud?
Doesn't that affect everybody in a certain radius?
Yeah.
Okay, so does that, are you having it basically affect absolutely everybody?
I would like to kind of try and intimidate him just into kind of...
So you're just going to focus it
telling
at
me-
him
Yeah,
kind of thing.
but if
Okay.
anyone else feels a bit scared, you know, feel free.
Okay.
Charisma saving throw, DC 12.
Charisma saving throw? Oh,
Shibbles.
Plus 20.
That's not far off. What's your DC?
12.
12. You kind of watch as do your
So
wings
the
pop out and
eyes
stuff.
and the wings,
Right,
yeah.
so the eyes of this old woman turn black. Her form almost becomes ghostly and ethereal. Skeletal wings kind of begin to glow and loom behind her, and the room grows dark around her as this green malice kind of energy kind of flows out. And you watch as this half elf, his eyes kind of stare with yours for a moment, and there is they kind of almost turn black, the irises, just this time, and you can see traces of kind of purple magic begin to flow up his arms into probably what was once an old scar, and he kind of just stares you down, and you two lock eyes for a moment, and then your effect fades, and he kind of stands back, unfazed. I've seen some pretty dark things. Scaring me's not that easy.
Yes, face value. Scaring won't work on this man. But let's just hope that we do our job so that your loved one doesn't die too early.
Indeed. And he kind of just looks at you quite hard. So, do we have an agreement then?
What choice do we have?
It's good. I like to see a man who understands his position, knows when the battle can be won and when it can't.
I've had dealings with the Thay, and it would be glorious for Tempest to defeat them outright.
Certainly. Well, remember, you are heading into the heart of their empire. I don't expect you to run around carving everybody up that you see. This will require a certain amount of clandestine behavior, but I'm sure you'll get to kill some Thayans while you're there. Go to Protector's Enclave. There is an airship waiting there for you called the Skyblade. The captain is a dwarf called Ostman. He has some supplies for you. If you wish, get some time, gather some supplies in the city. You might even be able to learn a few things about Thay if you're here. If you have dealings, you may already know them. But leave when you're ready. I've paid Ostman already. He won't be able to take you directly to the city, but we have a plan to get you as close as we can.
I'm just getting up and listening to this as I'm walking to the stairs, up, and walking away. Clunk, clunk, clunking.
I'm going to kind of sort of snake my way towards Malice and sort of go behind her shoulder and be like, I do not like this.
What choice do we have? He could lead an army in my direction.
He just kind of looks towards Malice. Halloway kind of stares over you and he's like, but you have my assurances I won't. Unless you try anything clandestine with me.
If anyone comes after me at any speed, the deal is off.
I will slow them down as much as I can. But I believe you are aware of how powerful the group after you is.
How do I know you know where my people are?
I said I would help you find them, not that I know where they are. I wouldn't purposely hide them from you, but I'm pretty sure given some time and resources, I can help you locate them. Or the opposite.
Touch them and die.
He just goes back, sips his drink, puts it down.
I'm gonna snap the fan closed and leave.
As I'm walking up, I point to him. You talk upstairs.
All right. Well, I'm
Big
gonna
scary man.
I'm gonna turn to Holloway and say, all right, job's a job. Clearly, we're not your first choice. I feel like we were last.
You're the Harper's last choice. You're my first. If that makes you feel any better.
It does.
Good.
I'm just gonna flick a coin. It makes a really loud like, boing, and then just catch it in the air and follow him upstairs.
Yeah. Your way upstairs. You just watch Holloway kind of watches you leave, sipping this drink, and then as you make your way up into the night time of Neverwinter.
Nighttime, eh?
Do you two wanted to talk to him upstairs?
Very briefly.
Yeah, go on.
Away from. I'll just go to a dark alleyway across the road.
Okay.
Clank, clank, clank.
Clank.
I make no noise.
What's your name? Toll.
Shank.
You've clearly got contacts in this city.
And you've clearly got a mighty force behind that swing.
Thank you. Get your contacts. Get something dirty on Holloway.
Already done. I flick a coin right behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It goes like out of the alley, and like an arm just catches it and runs off.
We need leverage if something goes south.
I like it.
If you see what I mean.
Okay.
Already done.
I'll make a note. Is it Shank?
Shank.
Yeah. Shank sends contacts.
If that's okay. I just realised I just did that.
if you wanted to do things like, and then a magic sword is just given to me, it's a bit different, but yeah.
Okay.
Sends contacts to learn about Holloway. Nice. Right, do you guys want to do anything else in the city before you head
I'm
to this
staying
airship?
way fucking clear of the creepy ladies at the moment.
I mean, the drow lady
Not
wasn't that
creepy.
creepy. She was
I
kind
had a
of...
fan.
She
It
was
wasn't
quite,
creepy.
you know, quite calm. You were quite quiet and calm. That
Drow.
one was the fucking spooky ghost lady.
Was it the drow thing?
Drow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Racist.
Drow and creepy old lady. Don't like it.
Okay.
I can deal with the gnome.
Yeah, you know his type.
Yeah.
Sneaky, underhand.
Classic Neverwinter.
Not your general type of ally, because he's a bit like the old elite squad. But, yeah.
I feel like I couldn't read too much from... What's your character's name again, sorry?
Terran.
Terran, that's one. I feel like I couldn't read too much into him, but I've dealt with big, like, burly, dumb guys before. I just listen to my every command, bodyguards, that sort of thing. And I sort of want to try and get a read on him, see if I can make him a potential ally. Because someone with that sort of strength at my command...
Well, it sounds like the two of you are kind of making your way towards this airship, or are you going to go get supplies? What do you guys want to do?
He said he had supplies for us on the ship.
He had
didn't
some,
he?
yeah.
So I'd like to check what the supplies that he has provided are,
Okay.
and then decide if I need more supplies.
Okay. So you want to head to the airship? It's worth us
Yeah,
just going to
yeah.
follow.
I follow in the shadows, like, you know.
Well, I mean,
walk
I'm
next
not
to
walking
us.
through
I mean,
streets either. 'cause-
It's a big crowd. The two of you are trying to basically stay out of the way as
I'm a
best as
lurker.
possible. Yeah, the two. I imagine that all of you except Terran are the type to
Just
kind of
kind of-
stick to the shadows and kind of make your way down alleyways and avoid the main thoroughfares. It sounds like you're the type of guy that is just like
gonna clank
you just
through.
know the streets and you're just like get out of my way.
I lurk behind Malice as well, just kind of keeping an eye, just seeing that nothing, no one's watching her, no one's like, you know, just a...
Yeah, well, that's one thing is like even in the shadows, there are definitely like you see like hooded like people sat on walls, and they'll like look. Some of them might spit occasionally, just like you know, kind of making noises as they see like this kind of half drow, what they think is a drow figure making past. Women quickly like hurry their children away, like oh no.
She just smirks because she's used to it now.
Yeah, you've been out into the surface enough times that you're used to it. Again, it's kind of one of those things of they're not throwing stones and trying to burn you, which is a step up from the olden days. But back before the Drist era, that's what they did to drow, burn them. But now they're a bit more like, well, she could be a good one, but let's not take the chance. Is their general kind of approach towards it. You make your way to Protector's Enclave, which is kind of one of the more central areas. It's where Neverwinter Keep and many other places are, but it's also where a rudimentary airship dock has been built upon an old wizard's tower. You do have to, there are several checkpoints, at which point there is a lot of questions of who sent you, but as soon as you kind of name drop Holloway, the guards kind of like roll their eyes and let you pass and don't seem to give you too much trouble. The Skyblade is the only airship currently docked there. It is a sleek-looking longship with 4 wings with glowing orbs of swirling, crackling blue storm energy bedded into the 4 wings, and it hovers up on the top. It's kind of like got a curved, bowed underside with a mostly flat, open top with just a slightly raised area for the wheel and ship. You can see that there are things like harpoons and like various weapons. There's no real ballistae, but you can see that there are heavy crossbows mounted on the side. Maybe about 4 or 5 heavy crossbows just mounted around the edges. But it looks much more, it looks very sleek. It looks like maybe it's designed for speed. But shouting orders on top of this ship, kind of directing a mixed crew of humans, half-orcs, a few half-elves. He's a dwarf. He wears a big leather jacket. He's got like a big kind of collar. He's got like a tricorn hat on. He does have a prosthetic-looking arm, and the other one he's kind of got like barking orders as he's pointing these pudgy fingers around, like, "Come on, move it, let's get going," blah blah blah, and just shouting orders around. And as you approach, he kind of turns a kind of eye, the night sky, the moon kind of radiating down, kind of illuminating everything. He looks over and is like, "Ah, you don't look like dock workers, so I'm assuming you're the ones from Holloway's sending me our cargo for this little mission." He kind of bows, tips his hat. "Captain Ostman of the Skyblade, how can I help?"
Supplies.
Aye, we've been brought across food, some supplies, basic things, tents, camping equipment, ropes if need be, and also a small selection of gifts for our embarkment plan, or disembarkment plan, I should say.
What gifts?
I take it Holloway didn't mention how you'll be exiting the ship then?
No.
He's like, he gestures you over. "Come with me into my quarters," and he gestures you over to a kind of small little cabin built into the back of the ship.
Clank, clank, McClankerson.
Yeah, you storm your way across.
I'm just mumbling to myself all
Just
the
like,
time. Just like I'm constantly just like mumbling to myself. Just like
You're brought into the captain's quarters, which are actually quite plain for the most part. A large table with maps and things like that. He gestures to the map, which you can see is of Toril, the land of Forgotten Realms. He points with a pudgy finger to a city called Byzantur in Thay, which is on the coast, which is just off the Sea of the Fallen Stars. He points at that and says, "The Thayans won't let an airship anywhere near any of their cities. They'll attack us on sight with magic." He moves his finger along the coast about maybe a day and a half's travel outside of the city and then drags it down into the ocean, just past something called the Shark's Bane Wall. Now here, the Thayans will just, if we pass over this spot, the Thayans will assume we're just taking a shortcut heading down to one of the southernmost kingdoms. I've made the route a few times and I've never been bothered. Holloway has provided, and he rolls out this kind of parchment, this kind of rolled up piece of like leather cloth. He rolls it out and inside is 4 tokens that look like ivory feathers and a folded up wooden block. Go on.
I think I'm seeing this. I'm just going to start cackling because I've guessed.
Okay, you say the old woman just starts cackling, which somewhat unnerves the dwarf. It's like, these are tokens of Featherfall. You'll be jumping off the ship just past the Shark's Bane Wall, and then you can activate these as you get near the ground. It will slow your fall. He points at the wooden cube. This is a folding rowing boat, a small magical item that will extend out into a 10-foot by 10-foot rowing boat that you can then use to get to the shore. It will basically take you into Thayan territory undiscovered.
Okay.
So, he spreads out these kind of feather tokens. He looks at the rest of you. He's like, "Aye, so this is the way that we'll get you in without the Thayans knowing."
How glamorous.
I'm still cackling away, and I point to you and I go, "You better watch where you land. Splash! You're gonna sink all the way to the sea with that fancy armor."
I'd rather
She has
jump
a
off a
point.
ship 10 times onto my head and deal with this. Couldn't someone of your crew show me that this works before I start jumping out with a feather in my hand?
We don't have any spare. I can have the Feathersfall spell cast, but these are the only tokens that we have, I'm afraid.
So we rounded up the most powerful, evil people, and he made us jump.
Well, I
off a
don't make
ship.
any judgments on whether you're evil or not. That's not really for me to decide.
Bit harsh, you only just met us.
Ugh.
Are you scared, Clanky?
Scared is not the word.
Why don't you just pray to your god? See if he answers.
Oh, I think I'd like him to answer right now.
Well, I'll let you get to killing each other, perhaps outside of my quarters, if you don't mind.
We'll be doing that with the feathers, I think.
Yes, it will take us about 3 days, 3.5 days to reach the drop-off point. We have to sail across quite a lot of open land, and the skyship does need some time to recharge every now and then.
Do we have quarters?
Yes, I've secured, normally I save them for some of my specialist crew, but they've been willing to give them up for you. There is only 3 rooms, however, so it's up to you how you wish to split them.
I'm going to walk off and try and find a room and secure it now.
You just basically head down, and there's only 3 rooms, and then the rest of it is an open common area where there's hammocks and things like that. You certainly don't think it's going to be quiet because these rooms are connected to this large common room, and the crew are already hollering, jeering, playing cards, fighting each other. It's very much a rabbly kind of crew, but you just find one of these rooms, open it, single bed.
Can we take out grief and pin the door inside?
So you just, from like a bar across the back of it, you just put it in place.
Take off my helmet and then go to sleep.
In the armor, or do you take off your armor as well? Sleeping in armor is pretty uncomfortable, but I figured that you're probably used to it at this point.
A knight sleeps in his armor.
Not
I've
actually
got
true, but yes.
Got to be prepared.
Yeah, okay.
I don't trust this
So you're just
company.
literally, you're just straight in, straight to bed,
I probably grabbed, pulled open a crate and grabbed a load of supplies
like food and stuff.
and
water
just
skin.
put it in the room.
I mean, you've got your
Drag
own,
the barrel in with you.
I mean, by this point, you guys would have your own water skin,
Yeah.
your own rations and things like
But
that.
I'm
as well.
taking the ship's rations.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah, then
using
that's
my
fine.
own.
Okay.
I've got to survive on that stuff.
What about the 3 of you?
So I'm gonna head over to the crew. Did you say they were playing games?
Oh,
and-
there's dice games, card games. They're all just sitting around. They're like, "Oh, hello, who's this? Wait, you right, lad? Wait."
Isn't it?
They're
I'm
that
just-
kind of crew.
I'm here for a good old game of.
Oh, what you playing? What do you want to play? Free Dragon?
I'd like to play a little game. Just something with dice.
Oh, he's a dice man. Is he a dice man? Says a big half orc. All right, I know about play Cyrix Bones.
Cyrix Bones.
It's
I
you know
see.
Cyrix Bones. It's liar's dice basically.
Of course. Although be warned, I like to play for money.
Oh, they're like, he wants to play for money. All right, we can wager a bit. We haven't got much. How much you got?
Oh, not an issue. Let's just say I'll throw in a couple coins here and there. First game, I want your pillows.
They look around. Our pillows? You want our pillows?
Yes, indeed.
You want to play for pillows, but you're going to put money in.
I'll put money in. That's fine.
They look around.
First game, I want your pillows.
They look at you. Give me a deception check to not be as to kind of make sure that they don't get the impression that you're trying to swindle them. Basically, you want to kind of pass off that you're not going to completely rip them off.
19.
19. They're like, all right, yeah, we'll play for pillows, mate. Yeah, we'll play. They're like, oh, this fucking idiot. Considering you're proficient in dice games and knowing your background and everything else, you fleece the fuck out of these orcs and out of this crew. Not only do you get all of their pillows, what else? Do you want their blankets?
On blankets.
You get their blankets.
I want to pay off a couple of the hardier people to stand watch at the night.
Okay.
I want.
So basically, there's a half orc in particular who you just clear him out, and you make an arrangement with him, like you'll give him his money back if he looks out for you and stuff.
Yeah. And by the end of the night, I want draped, almost like
You create your own
made room. It's just draped curtains. I've got a nice huge pillow bed.
Yeah.
As
Easily
luxurious as
done.
you can make it.
You literally have a portion of the common room for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got they've used the spare blankets as curtains, and then you have a hammock with all of their pillows in it to form a super soft bed. You've got at least 3 blankets on you. You've got a small table with like all of their alcohol rations, like their hip flasks. You've got all of them.
Yeah.
You've just fleeced them.
Okay.
They eventually stop playing you before they lose everything, like their clothes and money. But you've pretty much got like all of the smaller commodities that you could possibly want.
And I'll just say, like, it was good fun, lads.
You bloody little bastard! You've ripped us off.
I've nothing of the sort. You just need to learn the game a little better.
Like a couple of them are like, yeah, can you teach me how to play? Like, how do you play?
Yeah, of course. See me in a week.
We've got 3 days. You'll teach us how to play, right?
Sure.
I want to just
I'll give you a
stand.
few tricks.
I want to stand and watch all of this happen because I'm
It's so noisy.
I'm sizing them up.
It's so noisy. I mean, yeah, like it attracts. Like the captain comes in, he like berates all of the crew. He's like, "You stupid idiots! You've fallen for his tricks, you idiots!" Blah, and he's like, and they're like, "Captain, can we have more pillows?" Like, "No, I'm not buying you any more pillows, you stupid bastards!" And he's just like shouting and pointing at them all. "Let this be a lesson not to gamble with criminals." And they're just like, "Oh, we didn't know. We thought he was just an idiot." They're just like complaining. I mean, sizing them all up, like they're definitely strong and burly types. These are seasoned ship's crew, basically, like used to hauling cargo and stuff like that. They're not the smartest people in the world, but in a fight, they'd probably be pretty useful. Like in terms of like they can, they look like pretty handy in a scrap, basically.
And I want to size him up as well because
You don't know
I
anything
want
about
to.
him.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you have learnt that he is a good liar, and he's more intelligent than perhaps he might like initially appear. Like he plays them off against each other very, very well.
Yeah. I just want to gain an understanding of the people who I've been lumped with.
Yeah.
And see whether they can actually take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he's got a skill that could be useful. So I'm like, okay.
He's definitely got to use him.
But I'm
And
just
the thing is,
standing
as well,
at the
is
side of the room, just flicking the fan and
just,
just
like, watching.
back in again and flicking it. And
you watch like a
just
couple of
playing
like
with
the
it.
more human ship hands, like occasionally look over to you, and they're kind of giving you that like, "Oh, we're rowdy seamen, like we look at her." And then a
If
few
they
of the
do it,
others,
I take the other fan out and put
like
that
with
one
the blades,
with the blades
that
on
quickly, like they're like, oh. And then also you notice like the dwarven crewmates, like there's men and women. They basically like whisper in the humans' ears, and they just look at you with like, "Don't fucking mess with her." Like you know that drow and dwarves often are conflicting with each other, and they're just like, "Don't try it." The other thing you know about him, you recognize a deep gnome, and you know that his people are pretty clever. They're really good merchants and traders as well. They've got often a good, they've got a little bit of magic to them as well. You remember that a few of them can cast spells innately, so it could be quite useful. What are you up to, worthless?
Any kids on board?
No, I mean like this is a burly ship's crew. There is a woman who walks around the captain, older looking dwarf, maybe the same age as the captain. They seem to know each other on a familial level, perhaps maybe brother and sister. But she generally keeps away from a lot of the others, and she is constantly at the helm as well. I mean, once the journey starts, you actually witness her every few hours. She seems to kind of almost channel magical energy into the ship, which keeps it going, and she seems to have to constantly keep doing that to keep the ship lifted. Do you try and speak to her, or?
No.
Okay.
Once I case that, I kind of do a quick kind of, see who's on board and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to Terran's quarters.
Do you ever come out of your quarters?
No.
You're just like...
No,
it's-
not for 3 days. Just overnight.
Overnight, okay. So, yeah, like he doesn't emerge until the next morning, basically.
I'm just gonna, but like through the night, I'm just gonna giggle outside his door and then like...
So you don't go to sleep, you're just constantly like fucking with him.
Yeah, can I use can I even use my right of the frozen to kind of just like send cold, like make his room cold and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd imagine that, you can kind of do that, like this icy mist.
Yeah, and then I'm just going I'm just giggling to myself and going, splash! Splash!
Why don't you go bother one of the other criminals?
Because you're more fun. And then just I keep kind of circling around and I don't know, scratching on the walls or something like that,
Given that you are an experienced soldier, you are kept awake a little bit, but soldiers also know when they can fucking sleep. So you kind of fall asleep to the sounds of like giggling and scratching and this cold mist, but you kind of just... and then eventually just sleep overcomes. But yeah, like you definitely keep...
I literally grunt and then I sleep.
Yeah, I give up after a while once I kind of, and then
once
just
you've tormented him
yeah,
for
once
a while.
I'm bored. Yeah,
I watch her torment and think she'll get bored in a minute. It's fine.
And then I go to our, I presume we'll share a room.
Probably.
And just,
There are,
Yeah.
there are two
Spare
rooms
room,
still
yeah.
now.
okay.
He's sectioned
So,
off the common
yeah.
room.
I'm going to go into one of the rooms and sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll just, I'll be writing something.
Okay.
Writing stuff.
Perfect.
I'm a
Arsamar's
calligrapher. I'm
sleep.
proficient in calligraphy.
Arsamars do sleep normally.
Yeah, because we are
They're like
human.
humans. They're humans
Oh.
touched by
Yeah.
angelic elements.
Yeah, so we're not
Or celestial
we're not
elements.
immortal.
Right.
The first couple of days transgress pretty normally what you'd expect. Like, mornings are, quite early, the crew are aroused, but they seem to sleep in shifts. Some watch overnight, some sleep during the day, etc.
If one of them is asleep during the day when I'm walking past, I'm gonna nudge their hammock really, really violently
I mean,
so that
wait,
they
yeah.
fall off and go, oh, oops, sorry.
They're just kind of like, looking around, and
Specifically the dwarf.
the ones that warn the
The
other
ones that were looking at me
they
like
kind
they
of
were scared.
cast this really malicious look, like they're just and they kind of pick up their things, and then they just kind of seem to go about their business, tidying around, rubbing sleep from their eyes and stuff like that. If you keep that up for a couple of days, there's definitely a very cold enmity that's building between the two
Nah,
of
just do
you.
it one or twice.
But yeah, you sail across what initially for the first 2 days is mountains, forests. You think you travel over a part of Cormyr, which is a land famed for its knights, kind of large open plains and mountainous regions. The ship travels very, very quickly for about 12 hours a day, and then the other 12 hours it very slowly coasts on air currents. But for those 12 hours, it's traveling way faster than a ship on sea and stuff like that. And eventually you head off land and you are passing over open sea. On the second day, you are traveling across this large open. On the beginning of the third day, you begin to see landmass out on the far kind of horizon as the ship's traveling along. Osman tells you that perhaps it's only about maybe 9-10 hours away or something like that to this drop-off point. There is a point where your silver raven figure begins to glow with a faint dim blue light, which means that there is a dragon nearby. And in fact, kind of swooshing up from cloud cover, from the clouds that you're kind of sailing over and things like that, a bronze dragon, scales glittering in metallic colours, swoops up and flaps its wings. The crew is panicked initially, and many begin rushing off towards crossbows. But the woman, the dwarf woman who's been empowering the ship, just calls out, "No, stop!" And they kind of they hesitate for a moment. The captain turns, "What do you mean, woman?" And then the dragon is just at least someone has some sense. And this dragon's kind of flying alongside this kind of coasting ship as it's kind of sailing along. The dragon's wings beating heavily as it flies alongside. Strange. I've never seen a ship that sails on air before. It kind of calls out in this kind of purring, or very cat-like voice. This kind of ridged fins on its head, kind of waving in the wind, as it kind of cranes its long neck around. And who are you then? Where are you traveling? As it flies alongside.
I'm going to stay out of sight.
You just kind of
I'm not.
hide
Yeah,
in
I'm outside.
because the main ship is quite open, so you don't really have the captain's quarters where you can head
I'm
down.
going to stay below deck.
Okay, so you stay below decks.
I think I was already below deck.
Yeah.
I just
So
see
the
this
three of you are basically
glowing and went,
But
no.
in earshot of hearing.
So you're basically on the stairs,
On the
listening.
stairs.
in,
I'll probably just go to Worthless and just point at the raven, and she would realise
You've explained to her what
that
it means.
it's and then I'll just stay down.
Okay.
Just be very
What's Tolshank
on guard.
I mean, I would probably just stand next to the captain.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
just
You
move
see
forward.
this amazing metallic scaled beast kind of
Yeah.
flapping next to you. The captain looks up. He's like, "Oh, well, we're trading and travelers, cargo to sell in other lands. What are you doing here, dragon?" It just seems to remark, and the dragon kind of looks down. It's just like, "You may call me Kelaxis. I have my nest is near here, my lair. I was curious. I've never seen a ship that flies on air. Is this magic?" And she kind of soars underneath it. You hear this beating of wings. How curious. What cargo do you travel with, dwarf? And he like looks around. He's like, spices and gold. We have some passengers aboard, of course, but we're simply traveling across the sea, my good dragon. And he seems to be getting a bit more comfortable. And he kind of like nudges Shank, like, and he kind of whispers in like, "Do you know anything about dragons, boy?"
Do I know anything about dragons?
I don't know. Well, no, you don't need to roll, do you?
Okay.
Is Shank the type to encounter a dragon before, or?
I would seriously doubt it, being someone from the underground.
So you're just like, first time probably seeing one, no idea.
No idea.
Flappy big lizard wings.
Yeah, I'm not even like, I mean, like, I've got like a tough exterior, but like I'm just not even beginning to think about what to say.
You see the kind of dragon like sniffing loudly for a moment. It's just like, strange. I don't smell spices on your ship, dwarf. And he's well, they're deep down in the cargo hold and they're sealed up tight. You know, we can't have the freshness getting loose, can we? And the dragon kind of like eyes him quite coyly, and she seems to grin and smile. You know, you quite often get a lot of traders coming this way, pirates, that sort of thing. You're not a pirate, are you, dwarf? What about this little fellow next to you? Are you a pirate, little fellow?
Of course not.
Do you want to make the deception check, or?
Were we all given the feathers?
I would say you have all gained them at some point there.
I'm looking at exit strategies off this ship. In case
Right now, below decks, there are none.
Can I hear him clanging about?
You can see him, like he's under decks below with you
I'm
guys.
seeing if
It's
there's
only
any
one
hatch,
below deck.
latch,
There's like probably maybe
a
like
window.
yeah, there's like maybe not windows, like they're only very small pothole windows, but there's probably more like a cargo latch that you can like, drop. But generally it's used for like hauling cargo into the underbelly of the ship kind of thing. Kind of a small crate-sized, like you can pull it up, but it's got like bolts and things like that on it. What'd you get on that deception?
I got 21, so I would like to say just because I can't remember his accent all of a sudden.
It's quite gruff.
Cockney.
Cockney.
Loofah.
Of course not, we're not pirates. Worst case scenario, we'd be the victims of the pirates you speak of.
Oh, good. Well, you don't have anything to fear from that. You see, I take a certain pride in making sure that pirates don't travel these waters, especially to Algernon and their travels with those fiendish wizards. And she kind of like flaps around. She's like, well, your ship is quite a curiosity. Would you like me to accompany you for some time?
If, as a way to protect us from such dangers, then
Of
such
course.
assistance would be much appreciated.
Of course. And
Deep
she-
bow. Just assume.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
the
you'll
dwarf is like, oh yes, and he bows as well. Like, very good. Yes, thank you, dragon. And he's like, and the men are just like looking at it, like, what is going on? The
While
others
I'm
all kind of like
bowed
scoot around.
deep.
Yeah,
That's when I'm going to take a moment just to like,
just kind of take a deep breath.
and then come back up again.
The dragon just follows the ship along for some time. It just kind of patrols it. As you draw closer to Thay's lands, the ship begins to slightly turn. The dragon kind of like flaps down. Captain, and it's like, oh, yes. You're not heading to the lands of those wizards, are you? They can't be trusted. They are brutal creatures that attack my friends and allies. He's like, no, we are scooting through their lands. Says, do you know the term shortcut? And it's like, yes, of course. It's like, yes, we're taking a detour. But perhaps, he's like, he like whispers to you, he's like, the drop point's coming up, lad. We need to make sure this dragon doesn't see you drop out of the sky. What should we do?
Carry on for now. I'm just gonna. I'm gonna go down to the lower deck and talk to
you see
everyone
like
else.
these three kind of waiting below decks.
I see we've gained a dragon.
We have a slight problem. So it's protecting us from. It's Reynard again. How can I keep forgetting? his voice?
Loofah.
All right.
Yeah, a bit cockney.
So we got a bit of a problem. The dragon is protecting us from pirates, which is hanky-dory. That's great. It's also protecting the island from us, I think. So if we were to drop now, and we need to drop now, the dragon might follow. Anyone have any Smart ideas.
This one, the cackling witch, has tricks that she could distract the dragon with while we make a quick jump.
Trick. I'll tell you a trick. I throw you out first.
That would work.
She follows you. You shine like a penny. Dragons like shinies.
I'd rather not be the penny to the
What
dragon.
color is the dragon?
Bronze.
Would I know bronze is?
You can make me a Arcana check. Or a history check. I'll let you make it.
Have I fought any dragons before?
You've probably fought, I think you would have fought dragon cultists and stuff, but mainly the chromatic dragons like red, blue, green, white, black.
And I would know their
You do actually.
fighting prowess.
I mean, certainly you would know, like, legendary, like, dragons are incredible beasts. Slaying one is generally, quite a marvel. Being able to say you are a dragon slayer is quite the accomplishment. Not quite certain. You can make Arcana or history checks. What'd you get? Nothing? 2. No, you certainly don't know.
13.
13? You know that bronze dragons, they're the good ones? You think that they're pretty good dragons? Generally, they're quite curious, but they're not violent. They don't attack people out of greed like the other ones do.
Do I know anything about the raven figurine? No.
We need to either...
It's just sitting on my shoulder.
Glowing.
I think it's going to be difficult to keep the dragon from not spotting us jumping out, so maybe we give it a good reason as to why we are dropping out.
We could circle around the area for a while.
Why are we, and why do they not want us jumping out? Is she protecting the land from us?
She believes we are carrying cargo, that we're simple traders. I think if she sees us dropping out, she'll know it to be a lie.
Then distract it.
Doesn't like pirates. I could tell it that we've received a message. We can't head any further north. Or whichever direction we're going.
So you are currently heading east.
East, yeah.
So there's pirates to our west, chasing.
Either or.
And how would we have received such a message?
Good question.
Why not tell her you're on a mission from your god?
That's not going to help,
With the
is it?
land of evil?
This is not helping.
I don't think seeing me will do anything to help your argument.
You hear the captain like, "Oh, men, we'd better make sure that cargo's ready and prepared." And then one of the men comes downstairs and he's like, "You need to go now, like now."
I'm gonna run up to the top.
Okay.
And just say to Calaxis.
The small grey man returns.
Hello, Calaxis. Listen, we've received word. We've got spotters all around the ship. You probably can't see them. Apparently they've received word there's a band of mercenaries coming after our cargo, the spices, the gold, the trade that we have to offer. We can't carry on much further than we are at the moment, as they are waiting for an ambush. Is this something you could assist us with, perhaps?
Give me a deception check. 14. She like flapped in, and now her kind of large talons kind of grip onto the sides of the ship. She kind of begins to rest her body, and the ship bobs kind of heavily with the weight. She kind of peers down. She's like, "That's funny. I haven't seen any pursuing ships. A few traders, but nothing else. And you know, little man, I don't smell any spices now that I'm getting closer. In fact, strange, peculiar scent. Where have I..." And she kind of tastes the air around. Tastes unusual. What is it that you're trying to distract me from, little man? And she kind of peers in.
Listen, no distractions here. The spices, you can't smell them because, let's say we had a little bit of a party last night. It was all in the crew's quarters. We got a little bit sweaty, things got a little bit interesting down there. It must be masking the scent, that's all.
Give me a deception check.
Oh, Christ.
Come on, face man, this is your job.
Oh, Deception, you say?
Mm-hmm.
11 again.
She kind of just like, no, this is different. This is that an elf or something I smell? Who else is down there? And she's trying to peer down, like her big head kind of craning to like look down the stairs.
I'm going for the cargo exit and just waiting to pull it open.
So you've just got you got the latches ready. Okay.
Are you coming with me? I don't think we can come with this dragon of any.
Something is going on here. Captain and the dwarf is like, well, no, I mean, we did, but no, no, it's just, yes, it's nothing unusual. A few passengers, like I did say, that's all. I believe we have an elf. Is she an elf or a half elf? I'm not sure. And he's like looking around. I can barely tell the difference.
I'm going to emerge from the deck.
You just kind of make your way up. What is this?
And I'm going to be holding a sphere of light using my light cantrip.
What is this? Some old sorcerer, perhaps? Why are you here? This dragon kind of looms down, this kind of regal face staring down at you.
I'm just going to be like, dragon full of might. Dragon, do you like my light?
She kind of cures down. Curious. Is there something wrong with you, my dear? There seems something peculiar about you.
Wrong. Who's to say what's wrong and what's right?
She turns to you. Why do you travel with this poor woman? Her mind is broken.
As we said, we're just innocent passengers trying to make our way.
Have you killed anyone recently? Okay, she's kind of like peers down.
Tell me, are you a mother?
I have not had the pleasure of laying yet. I hope to, perhaps one day soon. She's not a very large dragon. She still looks quite young. Like her scales aren't burnished copper. They're kind of more of a dull brown.
Motherhood is a proud thing.
Yes, my mother was quite the dragon, and she kind of seems to reminisce for a moment. I assume that you are perhaps a mother yourself then, by the way that you speak.
Yes, I am a mother. My child is lost, though.
She kind of like, yes, I can see why this one's mind has broken now. What a tragedy. And she kind of reaches out with a clawed hand and sort of like gently kind of like pats the head with this kind of massive claw. Kind of almost treating you like a bit like an animal, like doesn't really treat you as like an intellectual. It's like, yes. And she kind of like pats down with this claw. Strange. Well, and the dragon looks at you. Whatever else it is you are hiding, there's more of these kind of broken individuals. And she kind of lets go of the ship and begins flapping away. You say that you believe that there are ones pursuing you, little gnome?
We believe so, yes. We received word from our... What are they called? Spotters, that's the one. I call them spotters. The spotters.
I do not believe anything but trade ships is following you, but I will briefly take a moment to investigate.
The cargo we are holding is quite interesting, as you can see.
And she like nods.
I'm just throwing this ball of light around.
Yes. Look after this one. It's just a shame. And she kind of like bows her head and then swoops off and heads down. You can see her dip down into the clouds, heading off maybe back towards the west a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back up to deck.
It's like, "Arr!" And like you can see a few of the crew are watching, and then they turn around and like, all right, Captain, we think she's gone. We don't think that she'll notice them.
Thank you, Captain, for the journey. I just fall off.
Just like head off, like hop over the side. You've got the token on you, yeah? Who has the wooden cube?
I don't have the
boat.
I'll take it.
You take the wooden boat.
And then I'll step up on the edge and I'll help Worthless up onto the edge and hold her hand and then just jump.
I kind of blow a kiss to the captain and leave the ball of light, like just...
And then it just sits on the ground, rolling around. He just kind of looks at you strangely and just shakes his head.
And I'm going to look at the captain, I'm going to sort of point at him and say, if this kills me, I'll kill you.
Don't worry, I think that dragon's probably going to come and kill me first, but good luck. stay out of trouble. It's a bad place where you're going. And then
I just jump
off. You guys hurtle through the sky, and that is where we will end today's episode. Ready to start it off next time. Thank you very much for joining us for this first episode of A Dead Reckoning, the anti-hero adventure prologue to A Tomb of Annihilation, which, don't forget, you can go and buy in stores right now. It's a really awesome module. We had a lot of fun playing it in Uncharted territory, and it's a lot of good fun. Don't forget, there's also tons more awesome D&D content here on twitch.tv/D&D and on the D&D YouTube channel as well, which you can check out. There's a schedule down below on the Twitch channel, which you should go and read.
Or go and check out on their Twitter at Wizards D&D.
We will be back next Wednesday for the next episode. Don't forget to tell people about the VODs, and you can watch us all then. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.